So many people around the nation were forced to really take stock of what happened on January 6th, thanks to the video that was played during the second day of the impeachment trial. And so many people have been saying, how can you possibly think that Trump wasn't responsible after watching this video? Well, I've got an answer for you, and it's a tricky one. What if you never watched the video? What if, for instance, you were one of the many people across America that got your news from Fox News, and as these sorts of headlines make clear, you didn't see it because Fox News just cut away from the Senate trial when they turned to all of that footage and instead started talking about, for instance, the kitten lawyer, who I will grant you, that is a hilarious story. But when you are Judge Jeanine Pirro cutting away from the impeachment trial to talk about how he's not a cat, he says he's not a cat. I think I know what you're doing there. I think you don't want people to see the footage because you know how damning it is. So understand, if you're watching this right now, you may think, how could they not accept it? Many of them won't have to accept it because they've opted into a media bubble that protects them from inconvenient videos and facts and narratives and all of that. And they get to just think, oh yeah, no, it didn't really happen. It wasn't that bad. Nobody died. It was all Antifa anyway. And that's basically what's going on over there. We're gonna have a little bit of footage for you, but Jason, I wanted to give you a chance to respond.
Well, I found it just a little, I don't know, weird that, okay, look, Fox, from a network standpoint, I'm gonna talk about this from like a ratings network standpoint, okay? Like because at the end of the day, it's about dollars and cents. For Fox to cut away from that and not show that was to their detriment. Because sure, you said they've opted into a media bubble that protects them from inconvenient truths and reporting inconvenient things like this. However, as journalists, that is your job, is to report the news. One, regardless of, again, on what side of the aisle you lean on, report the effing news. Two, yesterday the trial was the most watched and talked about thing all day. I was glued. I didn't even get out of my car because I could not get away from NPR listening to it. So from a ratings and a business standpoint, that was a stupid move, Fox News. You want people to come to your platform and consume your media on what's trending that day. And yesterday, that was the most trending thing I'm saying, in America. So that was dumb. I do agree with you on the kitten lawyer thing, but it's not so funny a day later. But maybe, who knows what the reasoning behind that? It was a dumb move from Fox. That should have been the only thing they should have been talking about in some capacity. Even if it would have been biased in favor of Trump, they still should have given their audience and their public that kind of content.
Well, Jason, they also did that because they did have an episode of The Five, which is apparently still a show. So if you're watching this and you don't watch Fox, first of all, good choice for wellness and all of that. I want you to understand what was happening. So for hours, all of this stuff was going on the impeachment, and it was fascinating. I watched CNN. That's how fascinating it was. I don't normally do that. And so The Five comes on, and they do a solid block about the impeachment trial, but they weren't watching it because, let's be very clear, they were doing a live show. They weren't like commenting occasionally while the footage played. They were doing their show instead of watching it, but commenting on it to say that you shouldn't pay attention to it, that nothing was being shown, but they quite literally had no idea what they were talking about because it was going on while they were talking about it instead of watching it. So they kind of got the best of both worlds, Jason. They were technically talking about the impeachment. So if you're a right winger, you can go there and you will only get their point of view of what they speculate is happening because they don't know what is happening because they're not watching what is happening. It was an amazing meta sort of media moment.
It was genius and it worked out for them beautifully. However, from a production standpoint, it should have been like a Fox News special report kind of situation where all the content, all the broadcasts, all the on-air activity was based on this trial. I saw that five episode, and some of the people were actually triggered in that episode. There was an argument that happened. Like there's some screaming and yelling, but it was this weird perfect storm of, we kind of know what's going on, we kind of don't know what's going on, and it's safe for us and it's working out for us beautifully. So we're gonna continue.
Yeah, that's what it
That's
is.
to be honest, that is a work in live television. Sometimes that's the easiest way to go because you just are like, well, we'll keep you up to date. People are in your ear. You're trying to fill time. You're trying to make something happen, and by doing all that, time goes and the show's over. So it worked out for them.
Yeah, it was. I would like to imagine that it's pretty see-through, but it was designed to distract, and that's what it did.
For more political news breakdowns, interviews, stories of activism, and me trying my hardest to care about the occasional big celebrity news story, subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/thedamagereport. And you can ring the bell wherever it is so you don't miss anything.